University House. But I believe we are ready to go, aren't we? So I'm going to hand you over to Christina Kennedy.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the Candidates Question Time. I'm delighted to have been asked to come back and quiz everyone who's standing. I don't know if you're all aware that we've got a brand new system this year, so it's the first time everyone's standing for president, and we've got 18 candidates. What we're going to do today is everyone's going to come in individually, give a 2-minute speech, and then we're going to do one question per candidate, a second question for returning candidates, because they can't get off too lightly, and then we've also got a question that's open to the floor. After that, we've got someone who's going to come from the Yes campaign and the No campaign for our referenda on No to page 3, and then we'll be doing some questions from the floor as well. So can I just introduce our first candidate, Alex Thorpe, to give his speech.
Hi, I'm Alex Thorpe. I'm currently the Vice President for Science and Technology. I study wildlife practical conservation. Basically, why I want to be president, one thing that I'm sure many candidates will laugh about is that I think catering in university, not just the union, is pretty poor. We're talking opening hours, options, prices. We've got a 24-hour library, and when you guys are in there from like January, May time, you've got a vending machine. It's just not good enough, really. A coffee, which it's just not good enough. So the contract for catering expires in August, so we can change it for this coming September, and that's why I want to be president. I want to make sure that that happens. Also, we have, university have a 3-week turnaround policy on coursework, and sometimes it's not met. I've dealt with many issues in the last 7 months regarding that. We need to make sure that university, when they set these standards, they stick to them, basically. That's the short of it. Socially, hopefully we'll get the bar refurb, I'm sure many of you know about. We're going to employ an events manager that will be putting on social events, a social calendar, alcoholic, non-alcoholic. I want to make sure that that happens. I've been here this long, I've seen what works, what doesn't work. I love the bar, but it needs to change. It needs to be refurbed, let's be honest. What else? Yeah, campus is changing. I mean, look, you've got the construction work going on there, just outside the front door. It's crazy. We need to make sure that students are at the forefront of decisions. I meet with the people who are responsible for decisions already. I want to carry on doing that. We need to make sure that the Gateway building is good and it's right for the students, really, because that's a massive investment. Adelphi's going to move over. We need to make sure it's right. I think I'm probably up for time, so thank you for listening, and thank you. Yeah.
So our second candidate with his speech is Twelemy Eze.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a fundamental belief that charity begins at home. And my name is Twelemy Eze. I'm studying mechanical engineering, my final year. I work as the director of Twelemy Eze Institute in Nigeria, where I had the opportunity to promote students free education, and those guys, they have the opportunities in studying other universities in Nigeria. Some of them are studying agricultural, electrical, electronics. In 2008, I had the opportunity of contesting as the councillorship candidate. I was the choice, but the government intervened and sent me across to the United Kingdom. 2012, I met a student almost sinking in frustration, a home student, and I had a choice to choose of what to do. I left my job and I went after the student. In one month time, I pulled him up, and this year, in few months' time, that student will be graduating as an aeronautical engineering student. In 2012, I worked under President Christie as the international student representative. I was going out for NOS conferences, representing and campaigning for student placement. And this year, we had a lot of students studying in Germany, studying in Turkey for their placement opportunities. And I never came back to the student union to ask for a refund of any transport I spent along the way. That is the true nature of humanity, and that is what I am standing for, to represent the student union presidency. I had the review work of Sir Isaac Newton and Kepler Johannes to authenticate, to seal the degrees everyone is offering, everyone is striving at by tomorrow, because we have to know that even though we have degrees that we are striving at, we cannot challenge with the guys in Harvard and Cambridge universities, even with our first class. That is why I am standing for your student union president, and that is why I want you to vote for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And your third candidate then is Todd Hewitt, who's also a restanding candidate.
And here comes Todd, just walking along.
Hi, I'm Todd Hewitt. I'm currently Vice President of Arts and Social Sciences, and I want to be President of the Students' Union. This year, at University Council and at Senate, I got student representation and sports and activities groups at the heart of the strategic plan of the university. Now I need the SU more than ever to rise to the challenge. To do this, I want to reform the student rep system, to empower student reps to enact changes on their own courses. I want the university to get the basics right. I want timetables earlier. I want them accurate. I want quality feedback within 3 weeks. I want to get more money for sports and activity groups. I want, with sports and activity groups increasing in numbers, I want to change the way we fund course-based societies so that they are funded directly by the university. I want a full social events calendar, not just here at the bar at the SU, but across all the campuses. And I want to hire an events manager to help run the events and help students guide students through running the events. I want to put more money in the hands of students. I want more placements at the Students' Union, and I want more outsourcing of work. And by that I mean graphics work, I mean video work, I mean photography work. I want students paid for their skills. I'd like you to vote for me for a more representative Students' Union, a Students' Union that goes out to you, and for a fighting Students' Union. Thank you.
Thank you. And then our next candidate is Maddie Larimer.
And here we go, here comes Maddie.
Hello, I'm Maddie Larimer. I'm a third-year journalism and English student. Over these 3 years, I've been student rep, I've been employed to work in the union, and I have been well involved within student activities. I currently run the Debating Society, I'm part of TEDx, I write for the Salfordian, I take part in Shock Radio, and because of all of these, I think that I'm well involved within the union. But what I'm running for is better communication. There's a lack of communication between the university and students, and the union and students. I mean, the union does try, but it could be a lot better. If I was elected, I wouldn't just sit in the office. I'd go around and talk to students. If I could, I'd do 1 day a week in every building that's part of my school. I want better access to specialist equipment. There is no point if you're a Media City student editing a video until 9, only to realise it closes at 10 and your video is going to render for another 4 hours. Therefore, your work may not be there in the morning. I want there to be more funding and help for sports and activities group. Yes, we can throw money at sports and activities group, but there's no point if they don't have the help to figure out what they need to do with that money. I want there to be improved feedback. 4 or 5 lines isn't acceptable when it starts with, this needs improvement, but there is nothing telling you how or why it needs improving. And we need better catering on campus. If you are a student who has dietary requirements, you aren't always catered to, and therefore you can feel excluded. I have friends who have got dietary requirements and therefore have said to me, also, we can't eat here because they feel excluded because they can't eat. I want you to vote for me because I am determined. I personally shouldn't be standing here right now. I possibly have arthritis. I'm in a lot of pain, but but I'm here to talk to you.
And I'm really sorry that's
Okay,
tight,
that's
Madeline.
fine.
Thanks. Your next candidate then is Becky Higginson.
And here we go, here's Becky Higginson. You may know her as the chair of LGBT.
Hi, I'm Becky Higginson and I want to be your student union president. Every time I go around the university, I see it making progress. I see how the union changes things, but I also realise though that a union shouldn't stop though. It needs to adapt and to satisfy the needs for the students, because that's the most important thing. As a third year, ever since I came to university, I changed a lot. I've become more confident with myself, and also I've taken part in committee roles and experienced through hard times. This has made me stronger though, and also wanting to take part. I know I'm not the best public speaker, but to me, I'd rather walk the walk than talk the talk. I want to prove, not only for the students, but to myself, that I want to make a difference. I want to make changes, but also to make sure the students get the best potential here at Salford University. I want them to make sure they have a friendly environment by making sure they get the best care for their welfare, by bringing more counsellors and help the needs for the student needs. But also to ensure a better quality of learning in students, as well as a wider range of library resources for all academic schools. Improving communication, because communication has always been a priority, but I feel that it's become lacking and there has been so many isolations around the campuses. I also want to ensure a peer guide system. Now this will ensure the new students coming to our university should be given the commitment and dedication for every first year should receive. New students want to settle in when they first come into Salford, and having a peer guide system will ensure people from all years will have the chance to become positive role models and ambassadors. Also, I want to create a student housing forum. We constantly need to encourage greater links with Salford and Manchester area to make sure there are better and student housing standards. So that's why I want to provide this to ensure you guys will have the best need and the best care for your living accommodations. As a union, we should unite our strengths, our convictions, our voices, because this is our union. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Becky. We now have Rosie Burnham.
Here comes Rosie.
I want to get more involved with the union by being a sabbatical officer, more specifically a president, mainly because of my experience in the union already. I'm a student trustee, so I make decisions about the finances behind the union, and I'm a student rep, so I get problems from my course and I try and put them up to the sabbatical officers. My main issue with the Students' Union at the moment is that there is not enough presence on all the campuses. So you've got Adelphi, Allerton and Media City, all of which don't really feel the benefits of the union. This means we don't know any of the issues that are going on there. It means that those students are almost forgotten. And that's one thing I really want to change. The other thing is that I really want to see more campaigning happening throughout the union. Not just on things that are important to students at Salford, but things that are important to students across the country and outside of our little bubble of the university. So with our representation groups done by the NUS, so LGBT, international students, postgrad students, I want to see a lot more campaigning every month, say, by those groups. There are lots of things I'd want to change. So my manifesto is a very honest manifesto. I know that I could do all of the things on my manifesto. So I'd like to see better social spaces for students. I'd like to see a security system in which if you're moving out of a residence, you're able to know that you can safely move into a house through a landlord system. And as you can probably tell, I'm not the best at public speaking, but I've got a lot of ideas that I know that could be fulfilled through the union, and I would like to be the one to help sort out the union and the university's problems. So thank you very much.
And there you go, there is Rosie Burnham.
So thanks for that, Rosie. Your next candidate then is Abhijat Das. I hope I said that right. No.
Okay, here we go. Here comes Abhijat.
Hi, my name is Abhijit Das, and right now I'm studying MBA in Salford Business School. It's been only a year. I'm in University of Salford, but I've faced a lot of problems. I've raised this issue to student union, but sometimes it happens that I didn't get the proper answer. So what happened, when I came here in June 2013, I faced a lot of problems. Like, no one was there. Like, in September and January intake, there are people who were supporting student ambassadors. But in June, I was totally lost. So right now, I'm standing for all the problems that international students and home students face during their tenure in University of Salford. I have an experience of 6 years working with multinationals as a project engineer and senior engineer. So I think I have the potential to fight for students in this university. The thing what I'm standing for is adequate access to library. Like, each and every book should be online. Like, not every student can come to library and study. We can study online, but sometimes you face that not all the books are there online. One more thing is that I think not every student stays in university accommodation. There should be one number 50 bus free to Manchester. Only one bus at least in the morning and the evening. There are a lot of things which I've written in my manifesto. If you want to read, just take it from me. Thank you.
And there you have Abhijat.
Thanks. And your next candidate then is Alexandra Ayuga. I hope I said that right. Sorry.
Yep, as Christina said, here comes Alexandra. Now, just taking the stand.
Hi, my name is Alexandra and I'm a student of English and Creative Writing. I think that we need a transparent university and a creative students' union. Why? A transparent university means that students would know and would play an active role in how our university allocates its budget. The priority of any university should be its students and not something else. And I want to make sure that our university does its best for us. For us to receive the best education we can get. By this I mean quality teaching, plenitude of resources, and increased financial support. In regard to the quality of teaching, I pledge for more accountability on the part of the Students' Union. My proposed plan of action is to have each semester or each year a survey in which students can express freely their opinion about their tutors. If a tutor seems to be held in a bad opinion by students, then the Students' Union should be able to do something about it. They should have the possibility to force the university to take action when we're dealing with bad teaching. On the other hand, when it comes to financial support, our university prouds itself with having students from over 100 countries, but only UK students and not even UK students all the time, and a few European students receive financial help from the university. I want the university to give more bursaries, more scholarship to everyone, not just home students, and they should be based both on merit and on financial needs. Moving on, why do we need a creative students' union? Because we need the students' union to have a bigger presence in students' lives. We need to have more student events.
That's time, Alexandra.
Okay.
There we go. That was Alexandra.
So our next candidate then is Fiza Ikram.
Yeah, so here is Fiza Ikram, who you may know from Keys News.
My message is simple, VIP. Vote me Fiza Ikram President. I want you to get the maximum benefit from Salford Uni. So help me to help you see the change that you want to see. Employability, welfare, on-site access, communication are just some of the areas that I want to focus on if elected. You should vote for me because I care. I genuinely care about my fellow students. I am committed to everything I am involved in, whether it's in my role as International Students Coordinator or Chair of Chess Club. This includes being committed to you. I'm fortunate as a journalism student to have met people from all walks of life. I will use my ability to liaise with people from different backgrounds to fully understand your needs. I'll share my portfolio of contacts with the uni to create relationships with industry professionals. And whilst here building our future, there needs to be more part-time employment opportunities on campus. Salford Advantage is already a fantastic scheme. However, we need to increase the awareness among students to add the skills we're already learning. More information about uni schemes need to be fed to lecturers and back to you. Working with a group of international students already has made me realise that it's not enough, and I want to be able to reach out to the diverse population of this uni. My manifesto is just a snapshot of what I would like to achieve if elected. From the bigger things to the smallest changes, such as simply putting a microwave in Clifford can make a massive difference. A warm meal on a late Thursday night can save you extra time and energy that you can put towards your assignment due tomorrow at 4 p.m. For those of us that drive to uni, the dread of those extortionate parking charges, I have spoken to Salford Uni's travel and transport officer, and I will lower those tariffs to a more suitable rate that won't put you out of pocket. And for those who spend the majority of their day either waiting or chasing the elusive campus bus, I will develop a mobile tracking service so you have enough time to eat your breakfast and get to lecture. To me, you are very important people, so vote Fizz Ikram and be part of the VIP team. Thank you.
And that was, of course, Fiza.
So your next candidate then is Marina Hristova.
And here comes Marina. Also, you may know from Keys News.
And I'm doing MA in International and Online Journalism. I've been in Salford for 4 years now, and I have experienced both the academic and the social life here. I'm standing for better career development opportunities with companies and institutions, as well as quality and timely feedback, better diversity of books and online resources, as well as language and exchange programs. I also believe that our students deserve more scholarships. All programs at the university need to be renewed. For example, software engineering, the software that the engineering students are using needs to be renewed, as well as AVID for journalist students. I would also like to have better nursing service, especially around weekends. The sport and student activities at our university are really very well developed, but I think that more different competitions between schools and courses would be very good. Health lectures would also be really beneficial for all students. Exam periods are the time when people are spending most of their time at the university and the library, so I think that the students deserve to have meal discounts. I would like to improve these practices in order to create a better learning environment for all students at our university. The University of Salford Students' Union has been established in 1967, and since then it's representing the interest of the students who are here, so I would like to be part of it, and I would appreciate if you would like to vote for me. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Marina. Your next candidate then with his speech is Jordan Lambert.
Hi, so some of you know me, many of you don't, which means that you don't know what I can do and what I can achieve. So why you should vote me: I've been a school rep for the last 2 years for media, music, performance and arts and media. Throughout this time, I've learned all the issues that students need, what they want, what we can do, and how we can build a better university. At the moment, obviously, there's a lot of work going on campus. There's a lot of attention about the future students, those students who are going to be here in 2 or 3 years. And that's all well and good, but we're studying now. We're the students now, and we need as much stuff as they're going to get. So my priority is to ensure that the whole campus is seen as an asset for students now, so that we can all have the best student experience possible. I want to make sure that the union is well represented across all the campuses, because I know that students at Media City, at Allerton and especially at Adelphi feel like a bit disjointed from the rest of the university campus. I want to make sure that everyone is well represented, and I want to help build on the student representation system, because I know that's important. I know that the main issues come out from student reps who do a fantastic job, but at the moment their voice is not heard enough. I want to build on the sports teams and the activities, because they're an essential part of student life. It's been the best part of my university experience, and I want to make sure that they're still available for everybody in the future, and that everyone's student experience at Salford can be the best it can be. This is a really good university, but it can be a lot better, and I can help drive it in the right direction. Thank you.
And that was, of course, Jordan Lambert.
Thank you, Jordan. Your final re-standing candidate is Jasmine Pokua.
So here comes Jasmine, who is the current VP for the School of Health and Social Care.
My name is Jasmine Pokua, and I'm the current Vice President of Health and Social Care. Why I want to be president? It's basic. Communication. The university is terrible at communicating to students when things go wrong. They're also terrible at communication when things go right. I will make sure that the university communicates to you all the time when things are going wrong or things are going right before it escalates. Secondly, I would make sure that you, as students paying 9,000 grand a year, get value for your money. It's basic. Getting feedback, quality feedback, timetabling should be correct, better access to PCs, better access to facilities that you need. Thirdly, I would make sure that the university embeds employability into your courses. When you come to university, statistically, students come to university to be better employed. So I will make sure I lobby the university to give you all your employability skills that you need, and embed placements onto your course, and also embed industry visits into your course. Fourthly, I have lots of things on my manifesto. Number 4, I would make sure that you guys feel secure on campus. I would make sure that there are more bike shelters which are secure, like the one next to Clifford Whitworth Library, because I know that there's none in Allison or Adelphi, or Media City for that matter. I will also make sure that there's more security patrols across the campus. And finally, I would make sure that you guys hold me accountable for what I do. The student rep system and student council is not sufficient at the moment. There's a new student council system that's being introduced. I will make sure that you guys have the chance to hold me accountable for what I do as your president. I just want to make sure that you guys understand that I will represent your views at all times. And finally, you would realize when you vote for me as your president that it's a whole new world with Jasmine. All right. Thank you, guys.
And that is, of course, Jasmine Pokua, who is once again your current VP.
Okay, thanks for that, Jasmine. We're just taking a quick 20-minute break whilst we sort out furniture. 20 seconds, sorry.
All right, once again, you are listening to the Students' Union Candidates Question Time here on Shock Radio. Throughout Salford on shockradio.co.uk. Don't forget, there is also a live stream on our website. Once again, shockradio.co.uk. Find the Students' Union Elections banner on the homepage. Click Read More, and you'll see a fantastic Ustream player. So for the very first time, you can watch the questions as well as listen. Also, don't forget, you can get in touch on Twitter at hashtag USSU Elections 2014. Please do send in your questions and comments. Both us here at Shock and the folks at the Students' Union are keeping an eye on everything that's happening, as well as tweeting, and we'll keep you in the loop on what's happening there and try and pass on as many of your questions as possible. So, as we said, if you've just joined us, this is Candidates Question Time. We have everyone who is running to be the new president for the Salford Students' Union here to answer a set of questions that have been prepared by Christina Kennedy, who you'll know as last year's president.
Okay, guys, I think we're ready to start. So if I can just get some quiet in the room so that we can then introduce our next candidate. So your next candidate is Megan Walters.
Hi, my name is Megan Walters and I would like to be your Students' Union President. I'm a final year student studying Modern Foreign Language Studies, specialising in Spanish, and I've been here for 4 years, including completing a year abroad. Because of completing my year abroad, it gives me a chance to have experience as an international student, so I have experience being a home student and an international student, so I can represent many students across the university. I believe I could make a positive impact at the Students' Union, and I would like to improve it in any way I can and make it a more effective representative for the student body. For the past year and before my year abroad, I've worked as a member of the bar staff at the university. This means I've had the opportunity to communicate with students constantly, and I have the experience of working as behind the bar and being able to see how the union works on a day-to-day basis, but I would like to go further now and be part of the team that makes the decisions and make my mark on the university. If you elect me as your president, I would like to integrate the campuses more. There's a lot of students across the university who have no idea who the sabbatical officers are, and I don't think that this is right. There are nearly 19,000 students, and each year we get about 3,000 students voting. I want to make sure that every student knows who we are and that we're here to help them. I want to continue to improve the amount of feedback that's given by lecturers. It has improved over the year, but I think there is a lot more work to be done. I also want to create a system where students know about the accommodation in and around Manchester, because a lot of students don't have the opportunity to live in halls and need a way of knowing where they can live and what's safe and whether they'll be able to get a good deal. I want to make sure that there are regular events in the Students' Union. Alongside the possible refurbishment of the bar, I think that there should be a lot more things to make it more of a social hub for all students, including making sure that all the students know about what's going on, which brings back to the integrating of the campus. I want to make sure that there is an assignment support system for international students who come across here and may have struggle with their level of English when they want to write assignments and don't know whether what they're writing is good or not. I want to make sure that Peel Park is safer.
And that is time, Megan.
Okay, thanks.
And again, that was Megan Walters, who is running to be your president.
And now if you'd like to welcome Adam Wakefield, your next candidate.
So here we go, here's Adam Wakefield. You will of course know him from Sunday mornings on Shock Radio.
Hi, I'm Adam Wakefield and I am graduating this year with a BA in Physical and Dance Theatre. I've been part of Shock Radio for the last 2 years and have a regular Sunday morning show. I'm also an international student mentor and I've been a student life host. Currently, I am working in the Student Union shop. So with this in mind, I've chosen to run the elections because I want to ensure students have the best time whilst they're here at the university. I also want to improve the union and develop the ideas and policies it has even further. I will do this by 1, improving the catering and retail outlets by looking at the costs and opening times and seeing what can be done to make this better for students. I have a few things in mind like the price of products and improving the space. I also want to improve the Student Union shop, focusing mainly on the Adelphi shop as this one is small and students feel like sardines when they buy products. Having worked in the Adelphi shop, I know how this feels and I will do my very best to improve this. Secondly, I want to improve the funding of the membership fees and the union groups, as I know these are expensive being a student. Thirdly, I want to ensure communication is kept between staff and students in the university. I will do this by ensuring communication is kept between the union and staff. I will also ensure the timetables are sent and received by students earlier and make sure feedback is still within a 3-week deadline. Fourthly, I want to improve the library services in terms of study space and the learning environment. So finally, if you vote for me, I will ensure I will get things done properly and to the best of my ability. I'm approachable, organised and keen to hear your ideas for improvement. Also, because I am a dancer, you'll definitely see me dancing around the university. Thanks for listening.
And again, that's Adam Wakefield, who of course you know from Sunday mornings here on Shock Radio.
Thanks for that, Adam. And we now have Joe Kelly.
Here's Joe Kelly, also from Sunday mornings on Shock Radio.
Hello everyone, Joe Kelly to be your fighting student union president. In the last 5 years, being a student has dramatically changed. We have an environment now where frankly, and I'm not afraid to say it, we're under attack. We have an environment where students have less money than ever before and have more money demanded from them. I'm running on a campaign policy of less money from you and more money for you. I will fight as your president, and that's what else I'm running on. I want a student union that's going to fight. In the last 5 years, we have seen how much money we're given for university cut. We've seen our grants being slashed, and as of yesterday, the news has come that more grants will be cut, with the living grant cut by 40%. I think this is disgraceful. I want to see Salford University become a hub of the fight back against austerity towards students. I also want to work on campus around issues such as rent. In my opinion, the rent system we currently have is woefully unfair and puts those with less money in subpar accommodation. I'm not afraid to say this. I think some of the accommodation we have on campus is disgraceful and that people have been forced into that because of their financial situation. I also want to fight to ensure that companies such as BAE Systems, who I was shocked to find were allowed on campus, are taken off. BAE Systems are a human rights abuser, and the news that they've been allowed on campus in our job fairs is disgraceful. I also want to fight to make sure that we have an accountable union. I want the union to be to you. You run this union, we would simply work for you. So thank you very much. Joe Kelly, #1 President.
Again, that is Joe Kelly, who, once again, you all know from Sunday mornings on Shock Radio as part of Cool Fan.
Thank you, Joe. Your next candidate then is Asif Omar.
Yep, here's Asif Omar, a very popular face around the Students' Union for anyone who comes down.
Hello there, guys. As you know, my name's Asif Omar, and I believe I am the right man who can drive the union forward into a positive direction. The reason I believe this is because of my 4 core values. I am devoted, team player, fun and stylish. If you're going to have a role model, they need to be stylish. Come on, all them cardboard cutouts and posters, I'm the man for that. But seriously, why should you vote for me? Well, the reason why you should vote for me is because I have plenty of experience. For example, I am the chairman of the hockey club. This shows that I can run an organisation successfully, and I'm also a student activity assistant, and last year I was a student councillor, so I know the strengths and the weaknesses of the union, and I already have a working relationship within the union with students and the staff behind the scenes as well. So, and another interesting fact about me, out of the thousands of students last year, I was shortlisted for the Student Union Personality of the Year, but I did not receive it, but there's always this year. But onto my proposals. My main proposal is feedback. How many times have you spent hours and hours on your work and you've received, let's say, 70%, but you just received the grade and general feedback like, well done? Well, we all know tutors are going to be lazy. That's a fact. With my system, they can still be lazy. What I propose is voice-recorded feedback. Like, I've only been talking to you for a minute. Imagine the amount they can talk to you in a minute and then put that on Blackboard. It improves relations between tutors and students as well. Not only that, I want to improve the technology as well. We've got a Blackboard app, I want to promote that, and I want to put a timetable app as well. One click, bang, there's your timetable for the day, week, month. Simple. Other unis that do it, we can do it as well. Facilities. Salford is improving, we can see that. However, we're forgetting the basics. Printers in the library, we need more printers as well, especially through assignment weeks, deadline weeks and stuff like that as well. Cash machines. When I came here, there was many cash machines on campus. Now we need cash machines in the student union.
And there you go, that is Asif Omar, who is currently telling you to vote.
So last but not least, you've got Rory Sparshot.
Again, here is Rory.
Thanks very much, and thanks, Christina. I'm here not for myself. I'm here for the students who are often so forgotten about, the students who have problems that none of us can often imagine, who have pain that none of us hopefully experience. 1 in 4 students at university will experience mental health problems at some point during their time at university. And it is my promise to you that I will make Salford the safest university in the country for mental health issues. I myself have suffered from mental health problems, and I made a promise to myself that I would not let anyone go through the pain that I did when I was able to recover, albeit partly. It is very easy to stand up in here in front of all of you and promise the world, promise anything that you might want. But I have a manifesto that doesn't just detail what I want to give you, it also details how I want to get it to you. People would say, we want cheaper drinks. How do we get cheaper drinks in the SU? We get it by increasing the amount of money that the SU makes. How do we do that? We bring out the coffee pods. Get the SU to buy out the contract for those, we have an income from there. You want more students to be actively engaged with the union. You want students to be more listened to. Set up an online forum, which also brings in money. We can then hear your problems instantly, not when the next staff-student meeting is, by which time the problem may have come to such a fruition that there's nothing we can do about it anymore. We have so many good societies at Salford, and we have such an opportunity to use those societies, not just for those societies, but for the people across the university. We have, for example, Shock Radio, a fantastic radio station that could launch the careers of many, many like big DJs across the country? Why don't we have that playing in the SU? Why, for that matter, don't we have it playing across the university generally? In the foyer at Newton, in the foyer at Maxwell? Thank you very much.
And there you go, Rory Spears Shock. We do love a good word for Shock Radio, of course. And that completes your candidate lineup.
So you've got an interesting bunch. These lot have prepared manifestos that kept me reading till 4 a.m. this morning. So I have come up with a question based on manifestos for each individual candidate, so you know I've done my research. We're going to go round in the same order, which was a randomised order before we began today. So my question for Alex, based on your manifesto, is you claim that you want to increase sport participation by 30%. Can I just ask how you've already, as a restanding candidate, how you've already been working on increasing participation and how you intend to continue to do so, particularly for students who don't traditionally get involved in sport at Salford?
Simple answer is Wednesday afternoons need to be free. So students can be involved in sport on Wednesday afternoons. University want this to happen. So I think they'll give up money and opportunities to do so. Also, we have the Give Sport a Go programme, which is fantastic. It's going up and up and up. We're rebidding for the funding from Sport England. We're looking quite good. I think we're going to be successful in that bid, so we're going to expand our Give Sport a Go programme. And in short, that's how I would increase sport, I believe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My question for Tuolumne then is, you've stated in your manifesto that you want a dynamic restructure of staff. I would ask what that would look like and how you would work with trade unions on campus whilst discussing staffing restructures.
That is good. A couple of weeks ago, I went to Pier 103 and I met the lecturers using a white paper to wipe the whiteboard. And I think that wasn't good. It's not the British standard of academics. So I know that the lab has come from the facilities management team, which I know that, if the student union speaks to those staffs to be restructured, we won't be seeing all of those mess. Another issue is we have the petroleum and gas student in 243 Newton building. Is dramatically decaying. Is decaying, and the students for a computer to initialize is always a problem. And also we have Newton 66 having those kind of problems. The facilities there, they are not working, and they are used for the PhD students, which is not correct. We need to restructure the facilities management team to put all those things in order if we want to move this university and this union forward.
So can I just ask if that's a restructure then that's specifically focused on science and technology, or if it would be across the entire institution?
I think if I can boldly speak for engineering, if I become the president, and if I cannot speak for engineering, I can't speak for any other school. And if I be the president, the other schools are also headed by the VPs, which I will work directly with them and the VC. So if I can't speak for engineering, I don't think if I can speak for health, public health, or law student, or any other student. So boldly, if I've gotten a survey of the facility, and the Peel building also is used by other students across the university. So I think my point should be from the engineering perspective strongly before other schools. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can't just give one person an applause. So then for Todd, you've said that the Students' Union should provide more jobs, internships and placement opportunities for students. Could I ask how you would fund this, and would you also be lobbying the university to do the same, and what have you currently done around employability for students on campus as a current sabbatical officer?
So how I would fund this? So at the moment, as current Vice President, we've been lobbying the university to increase the block grant. And the way we've been doing this is I've made presentations to University Council with Michelle, and we've expressed how, having more student placements in certain areas would actually help increase what we do, help expand what we do, and help reach out to more students. I think the only way we can fund it is by increasing the block grant that we receive from the university. Would I want the university to do the same? Of course I'd want the university to do the same. I'd want the university to change the way it works placements. I know that at the moment there's an idea to introduce a 3-year placement degree, so having a placement within a 3-year degree. And just this morning I've been asked to sit on the task group to help decide which programmes will work with those 3-year placements. And I think the university can do a lot more, especially because it sells Media City, and a lot of what it does, it says we have great links with these companies, these industries, but sometimes it doesn't live up to expectation. So I'd really love the university to really start either meeting expectations or telling students what it can actually do. In terms of, sorry, what was the last part of the question? What have I done to...
what have you done so far during your year to increase employability on campus?
To increase employability on campus. During my year to increase... So I've been heading up one of the points within the sabbatical officer plan, which is to look at embedding employability within degrees. What I found out from my research is that actually within a lot of our degrees we have lots and lots of employability skills. The difference is that it's not about having employability skills embedded, it's about helping students extract those employability skills and realising where and when they've actually sort of gained those skills in their degree. So for example, you know, by providing support after an assignment and saying, look, here, during this assignment you've gained these set employability skills, you can use them, these are transferable skills. I think that so many of our degrees are employable at Salford, include employability skills at Salford, but I think it's all about sort of bringing that out, and I think it's about highlighting it and making it easier for students to move from study into the workplace.
Can I just come back at you with one question?
Go on.
I did say the restanders would not get an easy ride. So you've said that you would fund more placements, etc., through block grant increase. I just wanted to ask if that is looking like a likely, realistic goal, given cuts that Salford suffered in previous years, not necessarily this one.
From all indications this year, it is looking extremely likely that we'll get a larger block grant. In fact, we've already been awarded the extra money for a 5th sabbatical officer, so I would expect that if we can show and demonstrate how we can use this money effectively and reach out to students and do more for students, then we should be able to get more block grant funding.
Thank you. So then I'm moving on to Maddie. My question for you is, you're currently a chairperson of one of our activity groups, and communication is something that's come up on quite a few of the manifestos, and I just wanted to ask, as you've stated that communication between the Students' Union and students should be improved, how have you used your position as a society chair to communicate and engage more students in your society to ensure that it's relevant to the student body?
Within my society, I'm chairperson of debating, for those who don't know. Basically, any university or union event that's come across that I've seen or I've been told about, I have put forward to debating and said this is going on. So, you know, because not everyone is aware, not everyone is heavily involved within the student union. I mean, there are a couple of people who, when first came to debating, didn't know who the sabbatical officers were, given they're just across the corridor from us, which was, for one, was amazing that they didn't know who they were, and two, given that they walked past the room, was just mind-blowing that they didn't even know that they were there, especially when Todd and Michelle just wander through the room every week. But I think the communication, it's key. I mean, just because I run an activity group doesn't mean that prior to this I didn't know anything about the union. I mean, the union in my first year was a place that I came to because I didn't know anyone, and it was a place that I came to because everyone was just sort of interacting, and it wasn't academic based. It was just a place that, it's essentially a place that I could hide. I could hide from my studies, I could hide from, you know, the things that were bothering me about my accommodation. And I think we need to open it up, we need to talk to people. Even if it's just a case of just talking to students when they're sat in the union, or when you're in a building, or you're just walking past some students being like, oh, did you know this is going on? Because I think it really is key.
So you think the face-to-face communication is probably the best way forward?
Not every student checks their emails. I mean, my course nearly changed last year, and they put across the point of, well, students should be checking their email, but not every student does.
Cool. Bit of a slow part there. So then we'll move on to Becky. You've said in your manifesto that you would flatly reject all cuts. If elected as president, you would sit on University Council, which is the highest decision-making body in the institution. It's also responsible for the university's financial sustainability moving forward. Could you justify an outright rejection of cost savings, even if the university's future survival was at stake?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, that's fine. That was a bit of a long one. Yeah. So it was, could you justify an outright rejection of all cuts and cost savings, even if the university's future survival was at stake?
I think it's important to focus on what's important with when it comes down to the cuts, because at the end of the day, the students are suffering because of these cuts. So even when it's like languages classes, they are getting hacked because of it. I want to make sure that the students get the best potential. They came here for a reason, and that is to learn. And as a university, we can't give it to them, then I just think it's not right, because we're here to provide this for the students. They came here to learn and get the best out of the university. And if by having all these cuts are going to be bad effect for them, then why have a university?
At times, I suppose, cuts could be out of the university's control, and as a member of that decision-making body, decisions may be made that you do vote against. Outside of it, you would have to still take the stance that the council has agreed. Would you be happy enough to do that, as all information at council is actually confidential?
So can you...
No, it's all right. So when you attend council meetings, the information that's presented there is confidential before it is then released at a later date in the university's annual reporting. So when it comes to a decision that you would potentially have, say, voted against, but as a council unit they've agreed it, you would have to keep that confidentiality and actually go with the university stance on that matter. Would you be happy to do that?
I would, if it comes to the decision, and they think what's best for the university, then I would also go along with it. Because at the end of the day, I'm not focusing on myself, I'm also focusing on the students and what their needs.
Cool, thank you. You can just see the size of relief from everyone when they ask their question. So Rosie, yep, nerves beforehand. So you've stated on your manifesto that housing in Salford is a big issue. You've stated that you'd like a database, which seems like a positive step, and a bit of an ambitious project. My question would be, who would take ownership of such a large-scale project? How could you justify spending on potentially a substantial amount of money on quite a large project if you were also fighting cuts in other areas?
When you're talking about a database, I see it as quite a, well, not as such an expensive thing as you seem to think. It would literally, for me, be a part of the website where you go on, you log what your landlord has been, well, firstly the name of the landlord, where you'd be living, and what your problem has actually been. You could then uprate or downrate that person. It's not such a huge budget as I think you've said. It is a simple kind of, as I said, database to help everyone in Salford. It's obviously a big issue that people are allowed to go straight out from a residence into what is a big scary world of Salford with no backing from either the university or the union to say that where they're going is safe. And that's what I'd say.
So would it be the union then that would take responsibility
absolutely.
of it, and it would be more of a survey that students would choose to fill in?
Yes, it would. So.
Cool. I don't think I've got much else to ask you on that one then. Right, Cool. I've also been asked if we can just be short and snappy with responses, as we need to do the referendum at 2:35. So my next question then is, Abhijit, sorry if I've pronounced it wrong. You've stated in your manifesto that you stand for reduced tuition fees for home and international students. Can I just ask, realistically, what do you think you could achieve as president with this campaign?
Actually, what I wanted to say is the value for money. Right now, I'm doing my MBA students. I don't find any difference between MSc and MBA students. We do get some services like free registration to AMBA, but there's no difference. We have done a module with the MSc students, and all of my students, I'm a student rep of the MBA, all the students of MBA, they were saying that we are experienced people, why would we do a course with them? We should learn from each other. So we have got only 10 or 11 students in our MBA course. So it's not a difference between the MSCs, but the course fees of the MSCs are 7,000 and we are paying 15,000. So it should be a value for money.
Okay. I'm going to try and be short and snappy. So thanks for that answer. So for Alexandra, my question was, you've stated that you want more accountability for quality of teaching on campus, which is a very good point. You've stated that you want semesterly student union surveys on this. And my question to you then is, have you used any of the current surveys already in place, as there are quite a few surveys around about the quality of teaching, including things like the University Supple Survey, the NSS, Student-Led Teaching Awards, Staff-Student Committee meetings, etc. And how would you improve these systems?
Yes, I've completed all of them, but they're all very general. They never ask you about a particular tutor, and what I want is that we have the ability to say that this tutor is not good, because sometimes it happens, it's a reality, and we can't do anything about it. And further on, even if let's say we don't like a certain course, I've never noticed a change afterwards. We still have the same tutor, we still have the same course, the same module, it all happens the same. It's just that someone says they didn't have good results, but that doesn't change anything. So what I want is for the Students' Union to have the actual power of changing something. They should be able to ask the university why they don't do anything about that.
So it's a question of rehauling some of the surveys that might already be in place and changing some of the questions.
Making them more, a lot more detailed, and actually taking action in response to them. And immediate action, not like 3 years afterwards.
Cool. I think there's probably many students that agree. So, Fizza, you've stated on your manifesto that 24-hour access at Media City is something you would fight for. I just wanted to know if you have already got some evidence that there's a demand for this, and have you considered the financial implications around it in order to be able to encourage the university to actually implement this action?
Yeah, well, yes, the other day I had a meeting with our academic director of Media City, Kendra Cooper. We're currently speaking about this, and the thing is, Media City is open till 10 p.m. Now, for students like, in the media building, when we've got a lot of editing to do, 10 p.m. as opposed to you've got a Clifford that opens 24-hour, it's not good enough. We need the time. We need more time. So right now, working on pushing it open, having Media City open at least till 12 midnight, and we're going to monitor that, see if there's a demand. If it increases, then we'll look at other ways and other. We will look at opening it for longer. In terms of financial implications, yes, like I said, I've spoken with Andrew Cooper about that, had a meeting with him the other day, and we're working on it. It's an ongoing process, so I've already started
So it would be more of a phased approach than a straight in on a 24-hour every single day.
Yeah, so, I mean, we've agreed to, 31st of March. So from the 31st of March, Media City will hopefully be open until midnight. Not confirmed yet, but it's an ongoing process, and so we're going to monitor that for the next couple of months, and then we'll see what happens from there.
Brilliant, thank you. My question then to Marina, you've stated that the university should have a system in place where they can buy books and online resources. Are you aware that we've already got the You Try We Buy, where after 5 minutes an ebook will instantly be bought if any student is using them on campus? And also we've got school library champions who are all given a £3,000 budget to buy resources. So could I just ask how else you would improve that service?
Well, I have spoken to a lot of students, and they all have experienced that kind of issue. I know that you could order a book from the university's library, from another library to come in, but they all of the students that I have spoken to, they all said that you need to wait a lot of time for that. That's why I think that this kind of time needs to be reduced. Also, this kind of system that I'm talking about, it is well known in a lot of universities around the world, where a particular online resource or book could be bought for our library, and after that it could be used not only, for example, by me, but all of the other students at the university. That will come in future time.
So the You Try We Buy system actually purchases online journals and online books as soon as students are using them for more than 5 minutes. So do you think it's more a case of communication with students to make them aware that that actually happens?
Well, I don't think that students are using it only for 5 minutes, to be honest. If a particular online resource, students think that it's useful for them, they're not going to read it only for 5 minutes, they're going to read everything. And today, this particular resource could be used by one student, but next year it could be used by another 10 students.
Yeah, I don't think I was clear on that. It's that
Okay.
after you use it for 5 minutes, it's then purchased as an ebook for anyone to access.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So do you think it's more than around the communication to students so they actually know that happens?
Yeah.
Cool.
I do agree, yeah.
Cool, thank you. So Jordan, you stated that you wanted to get extra funding for sports and activities, and that you wanted to extend opening hours and weekends at the SU. This would incur extra costs to the institution, and obviously if you were elected you would be a trustee of the organisation and responsible for financial sustainability. So taking that on board, how would you intend to gain this extra funding and also to be able to keep the bar open longer?
Right, well, at the start of the year, all the teams and societies were pushed to go and get sponsorship. And it was something that we've all tried. Some people have done really well, some people have done not so well. But I think throughout the process, the union could work a lot more with every single team and society about helping us. And whether it's the union gets sponsored by, you know, external sources, external companies, or just making sure that like all the teams come together and we come up with like one strategy of how we're going to bring in sponsorship, because it's worked in other unis. You know, like I play on a hockey team and we go against other teams who've got really good sponsors, and it's because their union has like really supported them from day one. And at the moment, we've only just been talking about it, and it is going to take a while, but that is something that we need to do. We all need to sit down as a union and decide how we're going to do it, and we all go about it in the same way. And I think by doing that, we'll bring in a lot more money, which means the union doesn't have to give as much money to the teams and societies and can reinvest within the bar to keep it open. Because, you know, you open the bar on sports nights of big sport on the weekend, you're going to bring in more money anyway. So you just need to start the cycle. Once the cycle starts going, it will just pay for itself.
Cool. Thank you. So then we're on to Jasmine, our last restander. So you stated both in your manifesto and in your speech that the Student Council is dysfunctional. You've also said that you would aim to ensure an accessible body of scrutiny and someone that's there to hold SABs to account. My question is, shouldn't all SABs currently be held to account by all students anyway? And how would you ensure that your new body or system that's put in place doesn't meet the same fate as Student Council did?
Okay, Student Council, we never get Student Council. We never get quorum in Student Council, so Student Council never goes ahead. We never get to tell the students what we've actually done. Student Council is dysfunctional. What we need to do is create this new system where student reps are targeted in each school so that the students have someone as a point of contact to go to when they have issues. One of the reasons why Student Council is dysfunctional is because the Student Council members do not feel like they have someone to go report to. For example, in student council at the moment, the only people that attend usually are the ones that have a group that they attend to. For example, LGBT, international students, minority students, they all attend student council at the moment because they have someone to go report back to. I know the women's officer contacts me a lot because she has someone to go, she goes and reports to all the women's students in the university. At the moment, we are a benign dictatorship because there's no one to hold us accountable for what we do. If you went to the different forums where student reps are and where students could attend, they could come and hold us accountable individually. So yeah.
So I suppose then my question is, are you then intending to build upon the forums that were currently in place and improving those rather than student council?
And it's not going to be like the Better University, Better Union or Better City forums. It's just going to be a forum where you come and speak to us, and there's going to be an activities forum where the activity and sports group have the leeway to come through the union groups.
Cool. Thank you. So then we've got Megan. It's quite a similar question actually to Jasmine's, I suppose, after your answer to that. But you've put a new regular feedback system for the SU. My question would be what that would look like, because the Students' Union currently has the open door policy where you can come and speak to sabbatical officers. There's a link on the website for feedback. They hold better forums. You've got SU on tour. So I suppose my question is, how would you improve those systems, and what would you do differently?
Before I put this on my manifesto, I spoke to Michelle about the different things that the union already do, especially with the open door policy. A lot of the time you can get many students, and ones that I've spoken to, who are quite shy about coming and saying it in person. And it's a difficult way to do it. You can do things like giving them surveys and stuff like that, but they normally look at the survey on their email and will be like, no, I'm not filling that in. I know that a couple of years ago there was a system set up on the end of the bar where you could just tick a box saying, are you satisfied with your student union? Doing systems like that and just communicating with them more. It's alongside what I've said about SU on tour has been working extremely well of speaking to students, but just improving that and making sure that students know that they can feel comfortable to come and speak to the sabbatical officers. Because if they're shy and they don't think, oh, if I go and complain about something, they're not going to take it well or anything. It's more the shy students. A lot of students come and speak to the sabbatical officers in their office and they know how friendly they are, but because there are a lot of students who don't either know who the sabbatical officers are or just don't know a lot about what the student union does, it's about communicating with them more so they know that if they've got a problem, the students union can help them.
So it's more about SABs just being out of the office and actually speaking face-to-face to students?
Not completely, but that would be a massive help so that they actually see their faces and they go, oh yeah, that's the person that's going to help me.
Yeah. Cool, thank you. Adam, my question to you is around membership fees for activity groups. You've stated that you want to reduce these, and currently the membership fees are decided by individual group committees, and that's based on budgets which are decided by a full student panel to ensure as much democracy in the student union as possible. My question is whether you feel the sabbatical officers should determine the fees or that committee members should determine those, given the fact that they're gaining employability skills through holding those budgets themselves.
Well, probably committee members, because I know being a member you have to pay a lot. So I'm also thinking about, you could also do a vote between the students. But probably my answer would probably the sabbatical office to decide.
Cool, thank you. It's just 'cause we've got a very diverse range, I suppose, of groups and activities. So you'll have ones that will cost more to actually take part in.
Yeah.
So I suppose my question was more around getting the actual individual committees to work out their budgets based on how much it will cost to run that group. Do you feel that that's something that you could put a blanket fee on every activity group, or that they should stay within the committees?
Probably put a blanket fee on it, and then everyone's paying the same amount, and everyone's not complaining.
Cool, thank you. And now we're on to Joe. So my question for you is that you've said you'll fight any course closures. Would this stand, and would you stay with that opinion if courses became financially unviable, or if they had low student numbers, which would result in a very poor, below par student experience, as you wouldn't have module options, you wouldn't have fellow students on your course to communicate with. So would you stick with your fighting any course closures, or do you think the university would be best supporting those types of students in finding a place at a different institution?
No, I would definitely fight any course closures. While I appreciate that, you know, your experience might not be the same, for me it goes down to the very ethos of this university. On average, we're paying between £8,500 and £9,000 across the country for university a year. For that much money a year and any other service, we would be getting what we paid for. I don't think it's right or fair for the university to close any courses. It's indicative of a culture that we have around the current financial crisis, which is targeting not just students, but benefit seekers. Anyone who is not responsible for the current financial crisis is being targeted for it. And I think that course closures are indicative of that. So, for example, with modern languages, it was raised by the Vice-Chancellor yesterday that there is the possibility of courses running alongside each other. That's an opportunity that I would like to see more of. I don't think there is ever a need to close courses. And if the university was to force through any course closures, as your president for next year, hopefully, I would fight to make sure that anyone on that course was able to graduate that course before it was closed.
I suppose my question wasn't around teaching out and whether people would be able to graduate. We'd hope that that would be something the Students' Union would always fight for. It was more around, you were saying that students are paying £9,000 a year to attend university. If there isn't enough students actually applying to degree courses, should the university not have a responsibility to then ensure that those students, if you had 5 people apply for a course, would find a space at another institution and have a really good student experience and actually be able to have module option choices rather than having it dictated to them what they'd have to study whilst they're here?
Sorry, I apologise, I misunderstood the question. Of course, it's the university's responsibility to ensure that you have the best education. I assumed that you were speaking about students who are already on the course. If you've not yet started your course, it does make sense that there's 5 of you, that the university then finds you either another course or institution. But I want to make it clear that, you know, it is the university's responsibility to field this. You know, I don't want there to be a situation of a student who has applied for a course, and that course is closed so they can start it, being cast adrift. I want there to be a promise from the university that if you've been accepted into a course at Salford, that's a guarantee that you'll either have the course at Salford or have the support for another course, either at Salford or anywhere else. Because I think, again, it plays back to, you know, if it wasn't for students, there wouldn't be a university. So I think we should be the ones who are getting the most out of this experience.
Cool, thank you. Asif, my question for you. You have stated in your manifesto, and this is something that I remember being brought up on quite a few occasions whilst I was president, that activity members should have discounts across campus. In particular, I suppose, focusing on bar and cafe years, our highest percentage of students using those services are already members of activity groups and sports teams. So if you were to give the majority of students using these services a discount in the bar and cafe, that would ultimately mean less spending and ultimately mean less funding for representation, activities, campaigns, etc. Do you think that would be a financially viable model?
Oh. Oh.
4 a.m.
That is a very difficult question, but I believe, because at the end of the day, students who are doing sports and activities are putting a lot of money behind the bar, and they're putting a lot of money into the union with their memberships that we've also said. So therefore they should be entitled to a slight discount on around the campus as well, because there's a core 100, 200 people who do spend a lot of money on the bar. And this year what's happened as well, if you haven't noticed because you haven't been here, but Wednesdays have been lacking as well. So we need an incentive for them to come back to us as well. And I think that is one of the ways we can do it, pretty much.
Given that our sports teams and activity groups already are our key members that use the bar, should we then be encouraging them to use the bar more often by giving them incentives, or should we actually be going out and trying to get more of the student population involved in the Students' Union through using our services?
The sports and activities were the key members of the bar last year. I don't think it's the same as last year, and I think we need to bring them back into the bar as well. And along as them, we also need to target everyone else, but that's a different approach as well. So
cool, thank you. And then again, last but not least, we've got Rory. You've stated that the Students' Union should support student entrepreneur schemes, which sounds absolutely fantastic. My question is, how would these schemes be funded? What would the support look like? And how would they improve upon things that are already in place that the university runs, such as Salford Enterprise and Salford Advantage?
Thanks very much. I think we have a very active business faculty, and I think we've got a lot of people who are very entrepreneurial in other courses as well. Physics is an example. And I think that the union has an opportunity of, for example, as a potential example, looking at creating like a mini business for, like, for example, say a sandwich shop, like on campus. Someone who wanted to set one of these up would come to the union and say, I want to do this. We would then say, how much would it cost? We could then give a small, very small loan to cover the cost of, like, for example, in the sandwich shop, like literally just like packaging and materials. And then we would get a share of the profits. The student would get a huge, very good experience as to how to run a business, albeit a small one. And I think ultimately students would then get sandwiches in this example. But I think there is a huge opportunity to let students work for students, because ultimately I think most people come to university wanting to show the world what they're capable of, and I think that the student union has a very good opportunity of making that more possible, so that students are benefited by students, and it just increases the cycle. Also, it means that there's likely to be cheaper food, cheaper drinks, that sort of thing.
Cool.
Which I think would benefit everybody.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. So I hope everyone didn't feel that was too intense. As I did say at the start, I do have an additional question for your 3 re-standing sabbatical officers. I would ask that you answer them very quickly, as we've got 5 minutes before we move on to the referenda. As you're all vice presidents of individual colleges, I've come up with a question for each of you individually. So, Alex, your College of Science and Technology has been renowned for the lowest participation in student representation and in the student rep system. So my question is, what have you done this year to try and increase participation in that side of things?
Well, from the off in July, I met immediately with everyone who's responsible in each school. So I have 3 schools. I have ELS, CSE and SOBI. And we said, look, we need to get these student reps recruited as soon as possible. In ELS, our student rep numbers rose. They were higher than last year, sorry. In School of Built Environment, we struggled at the beginning, but we got there. And CSE, I think we're just under, so that is I'll admit there's a problem there. But basically, I just met with the heads of the schools and just asked them to do things, and they got there.
Cool, thank you. Todd, I wanted to ask you more specifically around languages. You sit on the World Languages Board within the institution, and obviously the languages students have had a massive overhaul of their, I suppose, what they're actually, the provision they're actually provided with. And I wondered how you have communicated back to students the kinds of things that are decided at this board, as a lot of languages students have actually told me, as I've done my research, that they've not heard anything about the provision of languages other than a letter they received to say the course was closing.
And you're right, the World Languages Task Group is a confidential group. However, I asked for a verbal update in Senate, which means that the minutes are now public, which means I can actually now, right now, report back and say that the languages report went to the Vice-Chancellor. The Vice-Chancellor is interested in keeping languages in terms of a with languages provision, but he wants more work done on the financial costings and how it would actually run across the university. So that part of it is done. But I was waiting until after the elections to make sure that we get a proper communication out to language students. Unfortunately, it's not been with me, it's been with the university to put this communication out. But now I've definitely got something, I've tricked them into saying what's happening, so I'm pretty happy with that.
Cool, thank you. It's just because communication appeared on your manifesto as well, so I just wanted to ensure.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So, cool, thank you. And then on to Jasmine. So, College of Health and Social Care is renowned for always having issues with placements. There's always been a massive issue around this, and I'm just wondering what you've done to try and combat some of those issues for students this year.
I spoke to some students about placements this morning. Placements run my life as a SAB. Social work has a lot of issues with placements because it's not well run. I found out today that there's 2 departments that run placements, and anytime I run to the placements unit, they're like, oh, everything is fine, and then I get a student calling me about placements. So what I've done this year is made sure I've escalated it further, because it never gets to the Vice-Chancellor level, and I've escalated it further, and the Vice-Chancellor is looking at it at the moment, and placements are being reviewed this year, thanks to me.
Thank you. So if you just want to give your 3 restanders a round of applause. Yep. Right. Because this is the first time we've been live streamed, we've actually had some really good questions from Twitter. So I've been asked to ask some. They're generic questions, so you've all got a card in front of you that looks like this. So if any of you choose to want to speak on the question, if you could just raise your card. Oh, we've got some missing. Have we got any extra cards? If you just want to raise your hand. So if you raise your hand if you want to speak. We obviously don't have time for everyone to speak on every question, so I'll just ask a couple. So Louis Waters has asked, how are you going to tackle lad culture and secondly, homophobia on campus? Can I ask who would like to speak on this? Joe.
So yeah, obviously lad culture and homophobia are massive issues on campus. I'm an LGBT student myself. I'm also a feminist. I'm involved in the creation of the Feminist Society. And I think there are some really amazing initiatives on campus already in regards to lad culture. So, for example, we have the absolutely fabulous No More Page Free campaign who are running the referendum. If elected, I would want to work more with female students on the issue of lad culture, because I think it's really important that we engage with who are the victims of lad culture, which is overwhelmingly female students. I'd also really like to engage with sports teams and activities groups in trying to create a culture that ends lad culture, because stereotypically this is who it's associated with, and I think it falls just as much to people who might be seen to perpetuate it as it falls to those who are affected by it. In regards to homophobia, if I could widen that out to just general LGBT phobia, I think there is still a lot of work on campus to be done. I can't count the number of times, and I apologise for the use of coarse language, that I've heard jokingly, oh, you're such a faggot, in the bar, or oh, that's so gay, or they're a tranny in the bar. Casual hate speech like this has no place in our union, and as president, one of my campaigns would be to run something in regards to this. Something similar to the LGF now in Manchester has emblazoned in various night spots across Manchester large posters with the words faggot on, with you wouldn't say it, and such as that. I would like to implement something like that in the student union. These are both really important issues to me, and I think they're genuinely important issues that any president has to deal with, because if we don't deal with them as soon as we can, it's going to become endemic and it's going to become a bigger problem.
Cool, thank you. I'm just going to quickly move on to another question because we are running out of time and I'd like to get through a few of them. So if there was a general election tomorrow, which way would you vote? Anyone comfortable answering that question? Yep. We're all right?
I would find it incredibly difficult to work out exactly who, because currently there are 3 parties who are all basically exactly the same. So I would have to, I guess, go for Greens, but purely because they're the only party that have an opinion. I mean, we've currently got UKIP coming across to the fore, which is not great because it's basically BNP in blazers. But generally, there's no major party at the moment who is actually standing for the people. It is all standing for this this Reaganomic system that was set up in the 80s under, among others, Thatcher, which in the short term certainly benefited a lot of people, but in the long term has caused the ghettoisation of vast areas of particularly Manchester, and also more in the southwest as well, where I'm from. There is a huge problem with politics in the UK, and indeed further overseas as well, as the rise of xenophobic PVV in the Netherlands. There is a huge problem, and I think that the Students' Union of Salford and also broader the NUS certainly needs to reconsider its relationship with particularly Labour, which unions across the country are now, thankfully, because Labour is no longer Labour. It is only Labour in name. It no longer represents the working man in any measure.
Cool, thanks for that. And I'm just going to do one quick last question, and it's from Lollipop Lion, Louis Waters. What steps would you take to reduce the association between alcohol and the students' union groups and activities? Todd.
By employing an events manager at the Students' Union, what I'd encourage the events manager to do, and what I'd encourage student groups to do, is to work with the events manager and work outside of thinking that everything has to be within the bar. So, you know, let's get out there. Let's get out to Media City. Let's get out to Castle Irwell. Let's get out to Adelphi and to Allerton. Let's hold events there, and they don't have to be associated with alcohol. It's as simple as that. Taking events out of here to the people means that you can also take the idea that alcohol has to be included in the event. I think it's as simple as that.
Cool, thank you. So, that's concluding our candidates' question time for now. What we are going to do is we're going to have someone speaking on the for and the against for the referenda, which is the no to the Sun's page 3. So we're going to have someone for first, and then someone against. Again, can I just say you'll have a 2-minute speech, and then we'll do questions from the floor. 3-minute speech?
2, 3, sort of.
Why not? Go for it. An extra minute, whack it in there.
I'll speed it up. I'll speed it
3
up.
minute
I'll make it
speech.
interesting. Basically, my name's Ellie. Hi, hello. And I'm speaking on behalf of the No More Page 3 campaign. At Salford, woohoo! The No More Page 3 campaign basically started about 2 years ago, sorry. And started with a letter, very simply, asking David Dinsmore, editor of The Sun, to remove the page 3. And just so we're all on the same page, the Sun newspaper is the biggest selling newspaper in the country, with about 7 million readers. And to my surprise, is also the biggest selling newspaper on campus. This campaign started because every day, since 1970, the Sun newspaper decided to print a photograph of a young woman, usually about the same age as myself, sometimes a bit younger, always a white woman, so it's a little bit racist. And this woman is always completely naked, apart from a tiny pair of knickers. Her breasts are completely exposed, and for a long time there was a caption called News and Briefs that basically insulted the woman's intelligence. Now I think what you need to ask yourself is what this image of a young woman naked in a national newspaper sends day after day after day after day. The message that it sends is that a woman will be viewed for what she looks like, rather than what she does, and what she says, and what she thinks, especially juxtaposed next to images of men in suits and ties, running the country, playing sports, and making decisions. It is my opinion that this is absolutely not in keeping with the ethos of this university, that I really hope makes all of us feel equal and valued equally, basically, regardless of our gender or our race or our religion. Consider that we currently live in a society where 85,000 women are raped every year, where 1 in 4 women will be sexually assaulted in her lifetime, and 90% of girls will be catcalled and heckled in the streets before their 19th birthday. Is the idea that women are sex objects really an idea that a national newspaper should be promoting, or that a university interested in the education of all of its students should be supporting? I personally don't think it is. So it's because of these main points, and of course the point that girls are so much more than just our body parts, and we deserve to be represented equally to men in a national newspaper, that I'm asking all of us here in this room today and at the university to just take a stand up against a media that perpetuates these ideas about women. So yeah, that's why we're asking to boycott the Sun newspaper. Thank you so much for listening to me. And I look forward to hearing from the anti-boycott of the Sun for their points. And I'd be interested in hearing some positive
points for keeping the Sun, rather than negative points in a boycott. So yeah, thank you so much for your time.
'Oh, right, okay. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't sure what was happening there. Yes, can we now call the No campaign to speak? 3 minutes, go for it.
Happy to take questions. Hi, I'm here. I've come at very short notice. I only heard about this last night. And I had to do a bit of research because I haven't grown up in England. I honestly had no idea what the Sun newspaper was, other than the page 3 thing. But I grew up in a Muslim country, and there they had very strict rules about what could be put in the newspaper, what could be put on the TV, what could be shown in movies, what music videos or what music or even which singers could be performing on TV and radio. They did it for all the same reasons of modesty, of morality, of this, that, the other. And in some ways you could say yes, but the point it was censorship in its truest form. This ban for page 3, it's not a huge deal banning it. I'm sure how many people buy the newspaper every day will still be able to go to the university's own shop or to maybe the dozen newsagents and gas places and shops within the area or close to accommodation to buy it. It's not going to stop the Sun being purchased, it's about the message. And the way I see it, this is a message of censorship. This is the student union coming along and saying, we want this newspaper to be banned and not sold because we don't agree with it. I don't like that. And censorship for the sake of moral obscenity is always the start of censorship. That's how it started in the Middle East. That's how law about that in Russia, which was passed not too long ago, has now become quite serious in its latent homophobia. Personally, I can never stand for censorship, and I don't care for the Sun. I'm never going to buy it, but I am not going to force anyone else to not buy it just because of my opinions. I don't care what newspapers they sell. They can have the Telegraph, they can have the Daily Mail, and yeah, Middle Eastern guy speaking for the Daily Mail. You wouldn't have expected that today. But you know what? As long as it's out there, as long as it's not severely calling for my beheading, I can tolerate them. It's what you have to do. Freedom of speech is meaningless until it's about tolerating a view that you don't agree with. Anyone can come up here and talk about this protest, that paper, when it's something that they agree with. But when you see a person's tolerance, it's when it's something they don't like or something they don't agree with being put up. And to me, I see this whole thing, for better or worse, anything you want to say about the page 3, it's bullying. It's university coming and saying, we approve of this, we're going to have it, we don't approve of that, we're not going to have it. And it's going to, I don't even want to put it like this, but it'll start at page 3, and then you're going to probably want to censor the zoo, the nuts, or the actual lads' mags with a lot more breasts. And as a friend of mine put it, if you're worried about the page 3, then God forbid stay off the internet. We're not going to escape any of this.
And can I just ask you to round it up? Thank you.
And I think doing this one thing is a bad precedent.
Cool, thank you. That's fair. So can I just ask if anyone from the floor has any questions for our yes or our no campaigners? Anyone? Don't be shy.
Oh, hello. Basically, firstly, I just want to correct you. It's not actually about a ban. It's about a boycott. And I think this is a really, really important difference to make, because a ban, you're quite right, is a group of people telling another people what they can and cannot do. What we're asking for is for all of us to agree that we're not going to stand by a newspaper that constantly and consistently limits and poorly represents women. So my question to you is very simply, do breasts belong in a newspaper, and do you think that women deserve to be represented equally to men and women?
You say it's a boycott. To me, I see it as we want to say that this newspaper can no longer be sold on the university grounds. That to me counts as much a ban. Anyone who wants to buy the paper can't buy it. And they won't be able to buy it because of a single page which other people don't like. Now, I said it before, but I'll say it again. I can disagree with every opinion from every candidate in this room and from every newspaper in the SU shop, but I am not going to stand here and say that should be stopped. Okay? Does it belong? I don't care. I don't like the Sun newspaper. It seems like a stupid newspaper. But I'm not going to sit there and go to people and say, you should not buy it, we should not have it on our student union. I think it's filth. Because when you start getting someone who can get the dirty hand of filth and spread it over what they see fit, that is when freedom of speech starts going downhill. And it's a small thing, but it's a bad precedent to set, and I do not want to be part of a university which gets to decide what's bought and what's not.
Okay, so first of all, what about my freedom from oppression? I mean, that sounds like a bold claim, but it's a well-known fact that sexual assault, sexual harassment, and the way that women are treated, and most importantly, the way that women feel about their bodies, I think that that is a massive issue. These things don't happen in a vacuum. We've got to remember that everything is interconnected. Our culture might, the media might reflect a culture, but it also solidifies that culture and makes it okay. The reason that we're asking, 32 universities have already boycotted the Sun newspaper because they don't agree with it. And the reason that it's a boycott is because I would hope that everyone thinks that women should be represented fairly in the media, and that we shouldn't have this attitude about women that they are there just to be looked at. And I think that's the issue about the page 3. And it's not about censorship or pornography. There's a place for pornography, but it's not in a national family newspaper. That's what the issue is.
Can I just ask if we've got any questions from students, not the actual campaigners? No, it's all well and good. I had one at the back first. Does that question still stand, Joe?
Well, just in that last statement, you said that these women on these page 3 weren't there to be looked at. Surely by taking a job as a model, they were there to be looked at, because that's the job that they've taken.
Yeah, of course, and I would never say that there's anything wrong with that either. I think that women should be encouraged to do whatever they want to do, whether that's, for example, winning a gold medal, whether that's being a doctor, or whether that is being a topless model. And there's absolutely nothing to suggest that the Sun newspaper couldn't just move the page 3 onto its website behind, I don't know, an age-restricted paywall. But the issue is, well, shall I just tell you why the campaign started? It just started during the London Olympics. Jessica Ennis had won the gold medal, which was obviously really exciting and amazing, and that's fantastic. She's done an amazing achievement for her country. So the woman that started the campaign bought a copy of the Sun in sort of her excitement, and because they cover the sport really well, and she looked through the Sun newspaper and saw that they'd taken the page 3 out. And she thought, oh, fantastic, and they've gotten rid of it. We've got people coming over. They've done it out of respect, and because obviously women are doing so well in sports. She flipped through and got to the page 15, and it just turned out they'd moved it back. And still, in a newspaper that's read by 7 million people, the biggest image of that newspaper, even though Jessica Ennis had won a gold medal for her country, was of a young girl, my age, with her breasts out. And I just think that we deserve better than that, and we deserve better representation. And this isn't telling other people what they can or can't do. This is all of us agreeing that actually we're not going to support and make money for a newspaper that treats women in this way. And that's what I think anyway.
I would disagree that they're treating women wrong. They have a product that's being sold, and as you say, it's a very popular product. So I can't see a reason why that product should be changed, when if the Sun was to be boycotted from this campus, you had the alternative of the Daily Star or the Daily Sport or FHM, or, I mean, looking at the alternatives, if you looked at women's mags, Cosmopolitan today had 12 different ways to increase your orgasms. Now, should that be on the front page when you've got something on page 3?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. But I think the point is, obviously, if I could write a petition that said, I would like to boycott everything that's bad ever, it's not going to work. The reason that they've picked the Sun specifically is because the page 3 is a symbol, if you like. It's extremely famous. It's called a British institution. And I think it's possibly one of the biggest images of sexism prevalent in our mainstream media today. Obviously, there are lots of other things that are bad, but you have to start somewhere, and surely one step in the right direction is better than none at all.
So this is a really controversial topic, and I've got quite a few people wanting to speak on it. So can I ask that people, I suppose, give statements rather than questions? I've got one here, the girl in the blue top.
Hi, yeah, this is a question. Yeah, well, I'm a woman, and well, obviously, I don't actually, I don't always agree with page 3 and things like that. But you mentioned something about sort of not just sexism, but like sexual assault and things like that being prevalent in today's culture. Now, that really, to me, shouldn't be linked to a campaign like this, because instead of saying, oh, those boobs are out there, that means that sexual assault is on the rise, and that means that men are going to go out and do all these things to people. Instead of changing that, we should be educating people rather than removing things. So it should be enhancing it rather than taking something away. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, of course, educating people is really important, and I would never say that looking at a topless image of a woman is going to make a man just go out and rape someone. I'm not an idiot. Maybe I am. I don't know. But basically, it's this culture. I mean, the Sun newspaper basically coined the "whoa, look at the tits on that" attitude. I think that is it. Sorry.
We have that in female society though as well.
Yeah.
In plenty of magazines for girls that are found on in newsagents like over there and things like that. The Sun, we get sort of like pin-ups and things like that of guys as well.
Yeah. But I mean, there's not. You've got to look at it in context as well, because I mean, I hear what you're saying, and obviously there are women's magazines that can be quite sexist, but we haven't got a history of oppressing women in this country or throughout the world. Sorry, men. We haven't got a history of oppressing men like we do women, and you know, it's 85,000 women that are assaulted, that are raped every year, and 1 in 4 women that are sexually assaulted. Also, 96% of hypersexualized images are of women. So I think that it definitely leans one way, which is kind of unfair towards one gender and not the other.
But is putting a topless photo oppressing women in a sort of way as well?
I'm saying that putting a topless photograph of a woman consistently topless and naked next to photographs of men in a national newspaper, running the country, wearing suits, changing the world, is when it starts becoming slightly negative and slightly oppressive, because you're limiting women. You're saying that women will be, you know, valued for what they look like rather than what they do. And I think the example of Jessica Ennis is a wonderful one. You know, Jessica Ennis won a gold medal. Why did she not get the same coverage for that?
But she was on the front page, and the page 3 got demoted down to the page 15.
No, the page 3 got put back a few pages, but it was still bigger than Jessica Ennis's photograph.
So again, guys, I'm going to say this is obviously a very controversial topic, and there's quite a few people wanting to speak on it. I'm going to take 2 more from the floor, and then I'm going to go to the candidates, because we've only got 5 minutes left. Again, can you be sharp, snappy, and maybe more statements than actual to and fro questions?
Mine was just something very simple for you. It was purely by boycotting, or the university not selling the Sun. You said you don't want to tell anybody what to do, but you're telling quite a significant proportion of the university and its students and its lecturers that they cannot buy the Sun. So you are dictating to them, and you're doing the exact thing that you say you don't want to do.
Well, no, because it's being put towards a referendum, so it was something that obviously everyone involved in the campaign hoped that we'd be able to talk about and then come to a decision on, and we all get a vote on the topic.
Sure, but if it was passed, it would be probably a very small majority, and probably the very small majority of a referendum. It wouldn't be every student that voted.
Well, every student gets the opportunity to vote, and we need 850 votes before it can pass. And also, like, there's nothing...
So there are 19,000 students in this university.
But about only...
Can I just, again, just say that voting will be open alongside the same time as the actual elections. There will be a yes and a no campaign online for you to be able to read up on it. Again, we're running short on time, so I'm just trying to be short and snappy. We've just got a guy at the back, sorry, who wanted to speak.
Mine was just very similar to that. You want to boycott it, you could just boycott it yourself. I agree with the guy here. It's basically banning it if you get a referendum, because just in here already there's people that obviously want to keep page 3. So therefore you're making them boycott it if this is passed. Surely for a boycott, everyone has to not want it, but there already obviously is people that want to keep it.
Well, I think the way a democracy works is that it's sort of a majority vote. If there was a way that we could do it so that everyone was happy, then obviously that would be amazing.
That then is a ban. That's a ban because you're stopping people that want it from having it.
No, we're just stopping selling it on university campuses, which is slightly different. If you want to go into town, if you're really desperate to read The Sun, then of course you can. It's not a law. If you break the law, you don't get a capital punishment. You know, it's a group of people, and universities, like I've said, 32 universities have already boycotted The Sun, including Manchester and Man Metropolitan. So it would be really nice if Salford could join them in standing up to The Sun and saying, look, the Sun newspaper started printing this photograph in 1970. This is the 21st century. Women shouldn't be represented like that.
So I've got one last comment from the floor from the No campaign, and then I am moving on to the candidates. Again, as I say, statements rather than questions, because we are almost out of time.
I'm just going to say, agreeing with these two guys and what the Yes campaign said, 815 votes is the minimum needed to get this referendum to be passed. That's 850 students out of 18,000. And that's not democracy. Even if we did get a full turnout and we got 51% of the population saying yes to the referendum, that still won't be democracy because it's just one majority telling everyone else what they can and cannot do. Now, the Sun newspaper is the same as any other newspaper. If you want it, you buy it. If you don't buy it. If people as individuals or as groups come together and within themselves unanimously agree to not buy the Sun, I see no problem with that. I agree with you. But the last thing I want to do is to ban someone from from buying a newspaper like they want to. And that's the crux of my argument.
As chair, I'd just like to make a comment about the democracy side of things there, and then we will go on to candidates, because I know there's a couple that want to speak on it. As a democracy, yes, it's 850 votes minimum. Both sides of the argument do have the same opportunity to go and convince as many students as possible to vote for or against this, and all 18,000 students at the institution have a vote on it. So in terms of democracy, it is a democratic system, and I can just say that there is a yes and a no argument online that, along with the voting page, for students to read, and both campaigners can go out and campaign and convince students in the same ways. I am going to move on to the candidates. Joe, I know that you were really wanting to speak on this topic.
Okay, so basically, before anything else, I would like to say I do have my own issues with the No to Page 3 campaign. It's not to do actual Page 3, it's to do, if we're going to ban the Sun, I think we should ban it for Page 3. I think we should ban it for being racist. I think we should ban it for being Islamophobic. I think we should ban it for running a headline that used the term sex swap freak. But I would also like to say, I'm really sorry to anyone on the No team, you don't have human rights to see breasts. You know, please do not frame this in terms of morality. If you want to frame it in terms of morality, let's look at the morality of, you know, a 50-year-old cisgendered heterosexual man who really wants to get the really informed political opinion of the Sun, but also wants a nice pair of 19-year-old breasts with that. There is nothing moral about that. I am not saying that pornography is wrong. I think pornography can be a beautiful thing. If we look at movements in America where trans people, disabled people, queer people have come together and created beautiful images of their own bodies, that's really empowering. This is not what the Sun is doing. I think, you know what, someone mentioned, oh, we'll start banning it. Do you know what, yeah. Forget it, let's ban FHL. Let's create a campus which does not have magazines that objectify women. And the subject of the Sun and the terms of nuts, you know, the Nuts recently published a few years ago, Danny Dyer advocating that, you know, if your girlfriend leaves you for another man, take a glass and cut her face up. You know, if I win your election, I'm going to promise the No More Page 3 campaign that I want to make a campus that does not objectify women. I am furious that people have stood up and tried to put their right to a pair of breasts in the newspaper above the safety of female students. It is disgusting. You've got the internet. If you're really that concerned to see naked bodies, I can meet you afterwards. I can give you a few sites.
Thanks for that, Joe. I think of time for one more, and Alex had his hand up to speak.
Yeah, well, simply if I don't like something, I won't buy it, I won't look at it. Yeah.
Cool. So that's coming towards the end then of our question time. I hope everyone's had a great afternoon. There's been some heated discussions, shall we say. Thanks for coming, and remember you can vote between the 7th and the 13th of March online, and hopefully we'll see you all at the election results night on the 13th.
All right, there you go. That was Christina Kennedy and the candidates, plus the Yes and No campaign for the Sun newspaper on campus. Thank you for tuning in to the election debates. If you've missed any moment of it, you can of course catch up on Mixcloud. That'll be going up very shortly on the Shot Radio website at shotradio.co.uk. Don't forget, you can vote from either tomorrow or Friday, I believe, all week on salfordstudents.com, and join us next Thursday from 7 p.m. as we bring you live coverage of election night, the results here on Shot Radio.